LTM Vlogs is brought to you by Tall Man Toys and Comics. 2022 has been an interesting year for films. There have been a variety of films released this year on the big screen. Some are good, some are bad, some are scary, some are weird, some only exist just to make money, and some can leave a really big impact on you. However, if there is one film that I am really looking forward to this year, it's gotta be Guillermo Del Toro's Pinocchio. That's right, my most anticipated film of 2022 is the adaptation of Pinocchio. Directed by Guillermo Del Toro, who directed Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, and a few others. This is one of those movies Guillermo Del Toro has been working on for a while. You see, the movie went through a lot of development hell. The movie was supposed to be a darker version of the original story, but nobody wanted to make it. That is until a few years ago when Netflix bought the rights to the film. And we've gotten a couple trailers, and to be honest, it looks really good. But in order for me to really talk about this movie, I need to give you all the reasons as to why I think this is my most anticipated film of 2022. Also, before you guys say anything, no, it's not just because of the fact that Netflix is making this, despite Netflix dealing with a lot of other problems. So, I'm just going to give you all my 5 reasons as to why I think Pinocchio is my most anticipated film of 2022. Number 1. The director. Like I said before, this movie is being made by Guillermo Del Toro. And I've already mentioned some of the movies he's made before, but he also produced films like The Book of Life, Mama, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and a few others. Guillermo Del Toro is one of my top 5, maybe top 3 favorite filmmakers of all time. Guillermo Del Toro is really good at taking dark fantasy stories and turn them into horror films, like you see in Pan's Labyrinth or The Shape of Water. He's also really good with drama. Now, his horror aspect and fantasy elements work better, but even the drama's pretty well done here. And that's why I'm looking forward to Pinocchio. He's gonna turn this old, fancy little story and turn it into a dark adaptation. And we're gonna talk more about Pinocchio on this list, but let's just say Guillermo Del Toro is the right person to tell this story, especially when he combines with dark fantasy elements, like you see in most of his other films. Now, I don't know if the horror elements will work in this film, but the dark fantasy and maybe some of the drama will totally work in this. Number 2, the animation. The animation for this movie is stop motion. The animation reminds me of something like from most Leica films, like Coraline or Paranorman. But also, the animation is actually done by Shadow Machine Studios, who worked on Robot Chicken and Trip Tank. So, the animation for this looks really top-notch and better than how those shows look. So, I'm really hoping the animation will bring something new to all this and will help with the dark tone of this film. Or, at least from what I've also heard while writing this, the movie's also going to be a musical. So, there's that. We're going to get to that. Number 3, the cast. The cast for this movie looks pretty promising. I mean, it's not just your main ones like Ewan McGregor, but you also have Ron Perlman, John Turturro, Gregory Maine, and so much more. Some of the casting roles actually kind of fit well in these roles. Now, I forgot which characters are playing besides Ewan McGregor as the cricket, but everybody else seems like they have a very good role, and I'm hoping that the cast will bring something new to this story and how they perform. Though, is it just me, or does this Pinocchio look like a broken down version of Spud from Bob the Builder? I don't know, I just found that very freaking weird. Number 4, the music. For my information, the music for this movie was provided by Alexandra Desplat, who also did music for Fantastic Mr. Fox, Isle of Dogs, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and even Godzilla 2014. Now, it's not clear that if he's writing any songs, but I am hoping the music will leave a good impact on this movie because his music score in most of those movies that I mentioned before are really solid. And most of his score has like a dark, laid-back tone to him, so it would really fit the tone of this movie. And for my 5th and final reason, the original story. Remember how I said in the beginning that this was just a usual regular fairy tale? Well, Pinocchio was actually a really dark and sadistic story. And whenever someone tries to make an adaptation of it, it always ends up sucking. The only good Pinocchio adaptation I can think of in my head is Disney's version. And even then, I'm not really a big fan of that movie. And of course, just in case I forget, I am looking forward to the new one from the remake from Disney, but I don't know. Those designs, we'll talk about that another day. But I think the reason all these other versions suck is because of the people that made them. I don't think all those filmmakers understand how to make the right adaptation. Guillermo Del Toro is the perfect person to tell this story. Like I said before, I love Guillermo Del Toro. He's a good mix of fantasy and horror, and he can use dark elements pretty well. Now, I don't know if he'll go too dark with it, because then that would mean the movie would get like a PG-13, maybe an R, but you never know. But I think Guillermo Del Toro is the perfect person to tell this story. Anything he'll make is going to be dark and subtle. So Pinocchio is a dark and subtle story, so I could see this working. So overall, guys, I hope this movie does turn out to be pretty good, because it's got the right talent, the right style, the way that it looks amazing. And it looks pretty promising too, because not every animated film is going to go this dark, except maybe Winter and Wild, but I'll talk about that one another day as well. This movie looks really, really promising, not just because of Guillermo Del Toro, not just because of the animation, but because of the way they're making it. And I am hoping that this will surpass the Disney film or any of the bad adaptations that we've had in the past. Do you think I may be a little bit overhyping it a little bit, but I'm gonna promise you guys that this movie will be good. I hope so. And I have crossing my fingers that this movie will be my favorite film of 2022. I know we've had some other good films in the past this year, and I'm looking forward to more as well for the rest. But let's just say Pinocchio is going to be the big one for me, because not only is this getting a theatrical release, but also because it's been a while since a stop motion animated film to do that. So that's a big deal. And this is why Pinocchio is my most anticipated film of 2022. But hey, let's all agree that it looks better than Pinocchio 3000, which, yeah, you know what, let's just don't talk about that.